Hi guys, Sarah here, and welcome to Novel Expectations. Today I'm coming to you with my 20th weekly wrap-up for 2016. So before I get started on the book-related discussion, I wanted to kind of show you guys something first, because this is sort of kind of book-related. For those of you who don't know, I am a knitter, and I host a weekly, well right now it's bi-weekly, knitting podcast also here on YouTube. But I finished a pair of socks this week, and I really wanted to show them to you guys because the colorway name, which is the name of the yarn, or the name of the color of the yarn, is called Through the Looking Glass, which, of those of you who don't know, is the second book out from Alice in Wonderland. So I finished them, and I kind of wanted to show them off to you guys. Like I said, sort of kind of book-related. So first of all, I have to show you my oh-so-awesome knitting bag, which has Alice in Wonderland on it. I'm a huge Alice in Wonderland fan, by the way. Can you see him? He's kind of hiding. I actually have the Cheshire Cat. He's my favorite. Now, to be fair, I have not seen the Tim Burton version of Alice in Wonderland. I'm not a fan of Tim Burton, and it's a little too dark for me. But anyway, onto the socks. So yes, I knit a pair of socks. I love knitting socks. I knit them all the time. So here they are. My finished socks, and like I said, the color is called Alice in Wonderland. So you've got, with my finger, the blue of her dress, the white of her stockings and petticoat, and the black of her little shoes. So I absolutely love these. And yeah, so thank you for letting me indulge for a quick second here with my weekly wrap-up and showing these off to you guys. And now I can't wait to wear them. Oh, and ignore the strings that I haven't woven in yet. That's typical of me when I knit socks. If I knit them as a gift for someone else, I'll always weave in my ends, but if I knit them for me, I tend not to, and I just trim them and stick them in the sock, because I'm lazy like that. Anyway, on to how I'm doing with my challenges for this week. So, according to Goodreads, I am still 4 books ahead of schedule. On Thursday or Friday when I checked, I was actually 5 books ahead of schedule, so that was really exciting. I debated on actually increasing my challenge number for the year, but decided not to, and my challenge is right now sitting at 96 books, 96 or 98 books to finish in 2016. But if I finish like 120 books, then next year I'll just up my challenge goal to like 121 or something like that. So yeah, I didn't want to push myself and then feel pressure later in the year to finish something, just in case I start to fall behind or over the summer I don't get as much reading done. So for my A to Z Authors Challenge, I'm now at 15 out of 26 authors. A to Z Titles Challenge, still sitting at 17 out of 26. For my 2016 How Many Pages Challenge, I've currently read 11,447 pages this year. Excuse me, which is 46%. That's insane. I still can't believe we're only halfway through May, and I'm already almost halfway finished that. So again, same idea. If I surpass the 25, next year I'll set a different goal, so a higher goal. And for the Jelly Belly Jelly Bean Challenge, still no flavors completed. So I finished 2 books this week, and the first one I want to talk to you guys about, which is the first one I finished, blew me out of the water. The book was The Secrets of Flight by Maggie Leffler. This is a brand new book. It just came out at the beginning of May. I love this book. This was an absolute 5-star rating. If I could have gone above 5-star, I totally would have. 5.5 maybe. I loved this book. Now, I went into this book not knowing very much about the plot. So I'm going to give you guys and let you guys know what I knew, which is pretty much what you can get from reading off the back of the book. Essentially, this is about a woman who is older, and she served as a pilot in World War II. There's a lot of talk lately about female pilots in World War II. They weren't in combat, but they were moving planes and ammunition and what have you around the country, and they were taught to fly. They were in base, same as the men, on a separate base, I think in Sweetwater, Texas, if I remember correctly. There was another book written a number of years ago, roughly on the same topic, by Fanny Flagg, who also wrote Fried Green Tomatoes and The Whistle Stop Cafe. I think it was called The All Girls Fill-In Station, or something like that. I'll put the name of it right here. Anyway, that's about female pilots in World War II as well. And I think the reason we're seeing books about this lately is because in the last few years, the U.S. government has now acknowledged that these women were essentially in the military, because before that they weren't entitled to any military benefits or anything at all like that, but now they're being acknowledged, which I think is fantastic. So, the story follows this woman who is now much older, and it's like modern day, and she belongs to a writer's group, and this young girl who's only 15 has joined the writer's group, and she essentially hires this young girl, to write her memoir. So there's actually 3 stories interconnected into this one novel, and it's her, Mary is the main character's name, her life when she was flying in World War II, her life currently and what's happening with it, and then also Elise, the young girl, the 15-year-old, and the stuff that she's dealing with too in her life, because all these things are happening all at once. And I don't want to tell you any more than that because I do not want to give anything away. I don't want to say there's any big twist. This isn't like a Gone Girl kind of thing, but you know, when stuff gets revealed, it's magical to not know. And I finished the book, and truly for the first time in a long time had a book hangover. I didn't want to read anything else. I didn't want to pick anything else up. I just could not get this book out of my head. I called my mom, and I have it on ebook. And I said to her, I am going out and buying a physical copy because I want a copy of this book on my shelves because I want to read it again. So if you are a fan of, you know, family dynamic stories, friendship dynamic stories, historical novels, please do yourself a favor and pick this book up. I actually want to write the author and thank her for writing it because it was that good. Like, I'm not kidding. It's a wonderful, wonderful literary fiction novel, and I thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyed it. So the second book that I finished this week was way different from the first one. Like I said, I had a major book hangover from reading that first one, and I was going to jump into and start reading People of the Wolf by Michael W. Geer and his wife Catherine O'Neill Geer. But I will talk about that in a minute. And that is a really heavy story as well, and I couldn't jump from one to the other. I needed a bridge between the two, something to cleanse my palate, if you will. So I went onto my shelf where I have my Back to My Childhood books, and I picked the second book in the Sweet Valley High series called Secrets. This book was originally written in, oh my gosh, I didn't write it down, but I think it was 1983 or 84. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was cute for what it was. I finished it in a day. Pretty much it's about Jessica being her usual scheming self and trying to win the Homecoming Queen title and sabotaging other people. And, you know, it was a really, really great story because it was so vastly different from the book that I read before that it was enough, and it was enough fluff to give me that break that I needed between heavier adult books. And I really enjoyed it. I'm really, really loving reading through these old Sweet Valley High and Babysitter's Club novels. They're so much fun. I do want to mention, though, that it was so funny because earlier this week I have a couple podcasts that I listen to on iTunes at work, and they're all book-related podcasts. Books on the Nightstand is fantastic. Smart, pardon my French, Smart Bitches Trashy Books, I think, is one of them. And this other one called Super Serials. And this week, I'm listening to some old back episodes. And one of the ones I heard this week was actually, they reviewed this book, Secrets. And it was hysterical. I'm actually going to link it in the down bar below to their website so you can listen to it if you want to. And it's 3 adults. I think it's 2 women and a man. And they read and reviewed this book. And what's so funny about it is because Sweet Valley High, actually, they re-released, I think, the first 12 books, but they updated them to modern standards, if you will. So there's laptop computers, there's cell phones. You guys understand what I'm saying. So it just so happens that 2 of them happened to get the new version, the updated version, and one of them had the old version from 1983, which is the one that I read. And to see how different they were, it's just, I mean, I had to turn it off because I was just like sitting there giggling, and I thought, I gotta get work done. I can't be sitting here laughing at this. So I ended up listening to the rest of it on my ride home from work, and it was hysterical. I highly recommend it. The podcast itself is really good. I pick and choose what episodes I'm going to listen to with that one, because a lot of the books that they review, I don't know. I never read them. For example, Vampire Academy is a more recent one. They've done a couple Animorphs, but they've done Sweet Valley. They've done the Babysitter's Club. So, I mean, it's a lot of fun. if you're into that kind of thing, totally check it out. I mean, I just adore podcasts, and yeah, so definitely check that one out. So what am I currently reading? As I alluded to, I was going to start People of the Wolf by Michael and Catherine O'Neill Gear, and decided not to. I actually read the first chapter of this after I finished reading Secrets, but I decided to put it down. Now, I'm not considering it a did not finish because I only got a chapter in, so I'm actually considering it a DNS, a did not start. I got, like I said, about a chapter in and realized I just wasn't in the mood for it. I've read it before. It's a fantastic novel. I absolutely loved it, but it is extremely detailed, extremely heavy. It takes a lot out of you, I find, and I'm almost debating on whether or not to find these on Audible instead because they might be easier to listen to as opposed to read. So I decided to, as I said, DNS that one and do not start it, so I put it back on my shelf to possibly pick again later. But I went on to the next book that I had in my TBR for May, which was For Janaville by Heather Graham. I know every time I say that, I guarantee you I'm probably saying it wrong. I'm about 35% of the way through this. This is actually a novella. It was included, and I didn't realize this at first, it was included in an anthology with a few other authors a number of years ago. And it's a standalone story from what I can tell. So they re-released it for the Kindle as, you know, just a ebook, and it was only like $3. And it's about 150 pages, maybe a little bit less if you were to do a page count on it. I've been reading it since Friday, and I'm enjoying it. The chapters are a little bit longer, which is kind of nice. But essentially this is the story about a woman who grew up in this compound called, I have to look at it every time because I can't pronounce it, Janaville. And her mother died when she was very young, and she barely remembers her mother. But anyway, right after her mom died, her father picked her up and moved her up to Boston from, this is in like South Florida, and moved her up to Boston. And now her father's passed away, and his last word that he uttered was the name of this estate. And now this man has shown up, and he's there to bring her essentially home. And that's where I am right now. There's a very sinister background to this. It's a true Heather Graham. I'm sure I'm going to love it, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. The next book I'm currently listening to is Dragonfly in Amber by Diana Gabaldon. The second book in the Outlander series. I'm only about 15% of the way through this, but I am in love with this story. I am just so thrilled to pieces to be reading this, or to be listening to this essentially. I read Outlander years ago, and then last year I listened to it on audiobook. But I never went any further in the series. I think the reason was because the books are so large and take up a good portion of time to read, to sit down and physically read. Not only that, but I find with larger books, it's not wanting to read this big book that's 1,000 pages that kind of puts me off. It's carrying it around. Like, I'm looking at other people on BookTube who are reading the Outlander series, and they're either reading it on hardcover or in big trade paperback. I think I could go anywhere with that. I'd pull my back out. I mean, yeah, I can read it as an ebook, which is fantastic, but I really love listening to this, and I've waxed poetic about this every time. Please get the audiobooks. I don't want to give away too much of the story because it is the next one in a series, but it's pretty much Jamie and Claire's continuing adventures in 17th or 18th? In the 1700s in Scotland. And now her daughter, if I can't say too much, her daughter's now appearing in the story too, so this is very exciting. And the other thing, while I'm talking about Outlander, really, really quick, I want to talk about this. My husband is really big into the Funko Pops lately, and I think I showed you guys a couple weeks ago that I got some Clueless ones. Well, he showed me some that I now have to hunt out and get. I think they're available on Amazon. They have now done Funko Pops of Claire and Jamie and McDougal, or Dougal, excuse me, Blackjack Randall, and there was one more, and I can't remember who else it was. I think there's either 4 or 5 of the characters from Outlander. I told my husband I have to get all of them because I am just so in love with these stories. And the last thing I'm currently still reading is The Lost Daughter of Pigeon Hollow by Ingrid Cooper. I'm only about 100 pages into this. I said it last week, I have such a hard time picking up paper, like print books. So I've now put this on my bedside table, and my goal is every night to read minimum of 25 pages. I'm not giving myself a chapter, goal or whatever, But this way it'll get me to read print books, because I have now bought a whole bunch of these Harlequin silhouette books, which I love to pieces. But I'm not picking it up because I don't like it. The story's still really good. It's just I don't think about picking it up because it's a book. It's a print book. So I actually told hubby that next week I want to buy one of those little lights that you can stick like on the headboard of your bed, so I can read in bed at night, this, as opposed to my e-reader, which is great because I can just shut out the light, pick up my e-reader and read until I'm tired, then put it down and not have to get out of bed because I'm lazy. But if I get one of those little lights, I can just flick off the light when I'm done, and it gives me no excuse not to read this. So, like I said, I now have in my possession a whole lot of the Harlequin silhouette books that I've picked up at used bookstores over the last few weeks. And I want to work my way through them, and I have to get on this one and get it finished. So I'm hoping by next week, my goal is to have this one and the Heather Graham book both done, so I can review those ones for you guys next week. Anyway, that's it for this week's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have you read any of these books? What did you think about them? Yeah, let me know what you're reading. I'd love to hear, so please post in the comments below. And until next time, guys, take care and happy reading. Bye.